Hello, my name is Diamond Sampson, and today I'm going to be talking with you about racial and ethnic disparities within the medical community. It can be a mistake when you're having to talk with someone. Maybe you make an offhanded comment that you didn't mean to say. And for decades, people within different racial and ethnic backgrounds and religions have dealt with this miscommunication in particular. It's common, but it should not be common within our medical community where people are getting help and serviced. The history of miscommunication also relates to not getting proper consent or having proper understanding for people. How these moments have impacted history, they have also impacted people in the way we function today. This honest review of the rocky relationship between people of different racial and ethnic backgrounds in the medical community that we're going to look over today will help us get a greater insight, and viewing the results of a survey that was uncontrolled and conducted will also help us get that greater insight. So, 27% of medical malpractice suits are the key result of common failures, and miscommunication is one of them. Which doesn't make sense because really, doctors save time and reduce the need for follow-up visits when they make sure patients understand and comprehend what was discussed at the visit. This research is going to analyze in depth people of different racial and ethnic backgrounds and how they feel about their medical community and the personal experiences they've had. This will examine the use also of human test subjects over the years. The story of Henrietta Lacks is one that is very important. The cells taken without her knowledge were cervical cells collected back in 1951. The tissue samples that were stolen off the tumor on her cervix were used to create a mortal human cell line that has saved millions today. But the key aspect of this is that we've learned that still the medical community will disregard consent and permission just for their own personal gain and research. Track this back to colonial times, we'll see the disconnects don't just happen or form out of thin air. They exist. Structured racism in the US has allowed for deep-rooted miscommunication in history. This can cause a form of generational trauma, causing people to avoid the physician altogether in the deep-rooted history of experimentation. James Marion Sims, for example, he was the father of gynecology, and truthfully, the man was a sadist. He experimented on 11 different enslaved women to cure the viscovaginal fistula. This is an abnormal opening between the bladder and the vagina, causing urinary incontinence. Prone to the condition due to giving birth at young ages, the enslaved women were basically his guinea pigs. Using this women, he was able to create the speculum that is used at the gynecologist on many women today. And Sims wanted to find the solution so he could find a sense of celebrity status. He was quoted saying, "I saw everything as no man has seen before." Citizens, local apprentices, and other spectators, physicians, they went to go help Sims hold women down while he performed this research, but eventually they could not handle watching the torture. And the violence on people of color has been happening ever since. In 1978, Marigold versus Colligan, a Mexican-American woman in California filed a class action lawsuit against LA County USC Medical Center. This class action lawsuit was due to forced sterilizations where the women had no pure understanding of what was occurring. This lawsuit brought about LA having to implement pamphlets and sheets that were bilingual for the women to be able to fully understand what sterilization was and the effects that it would have on them in the future. Looking to 1942, we have Franklin D. Roosevelt signing the 1966 executive order, removing Japanese Americans from their homes immediately and putting them in internment camps. This accounted for 10% of Japanese Americans dying due to tuberculosis and preventable death due to food poisoning and crammed conditions. This internment camp gave lifelong diseases and symptoms to the Japanese Americans once they left the camp. Research is known as the fountain of knowledge for the sake of knowledge and an important source of providing guidelines for solving different business, government, and social problems. Miscommunicating is a social problem, it's a government issue, and it's most definitely a business issue, especially when we're talking about the medical care system. The survey that was created and sent out organically was used to look at what people thought of their community and the medical system as a whole and how people are treated. This was a regression analysis which was able to compare how one component can influence another. It allowed for anonymous and honest responses from those who were taking the survey. They could be truthful with themselves and also truthful with the situation, sharing how they truly felt. It was done on an online platform, Google, which was very easy form for people to use. Not all the questions related to the person everyone who was taking it, but what was great is that people had the ability to skip questions, go forth, answer what they felt comfortable with, also adding extra detail. Most importantly, everyone had to consent to the research at the beginning before it was submitted, and they could have pulled out by never consenting and never submitting anything. This quantitative research method allowed for numbers to look at the numbers and see, does it either support the thesis or does it refute it as a whole? Here we have some results. We see that 66.3% of people who took the survey felt well and somewhat informed about the available healthcare services in their community. This tells us that they're missing information about the possible healthcare services they could be receiving. Then we have 65.3% of people who are somewhat satisfied with the cultural competence of their healthcare providers in their area. When we took a look at this, we see that test subject 3 said a better understanding of the demographics in their area, or simply that they're likely to service and do some self-educating could really help physicians out. That's a simple solution. You can never be overeducated. Then we see here that 80.6% of people don't think that everyone equally receives the same quality of healthcare. That's quite a bit. Compare this with the 39.2% of people who do believe that a person's race or ethnic background influence their ability to receive fair and equal medical care. Lets us know that people identify where things specifically are falling short within our medical community, and they're unsure about the way everyone is treated in society as well. Here we have our last result. Now, this result doesn't necessarily support the thesis, but it still causes conversation to be had. 59.8% of people believe that they have not themselves have ever experienced a situation where they felt overlooked or ignored by a doctor or primary care physician. But what about those 40.2% of people? Subject 86 said that they were misdiagnosed after the doctor addressed a problem as minor, just to have the medicine prescribed make the situation more severe with a longer recovery period. This shows that pushing patients through can simply have a negative effect on the patient in the long run and is never the right thing to do. In discussion here, we see two solutions that could come about to make the medical community better. One, text reminders, phone calls, and follow-up questions. Simply having a nurse practitioner reach out to someone with a phone call would allow people to see and feel comfortable with sharing how they felt about their visit, how they feel about their physician, and if they have any more unanswered questions or any extra assistance they might need. Some people do not feel comfortable talking in the moment and might feel comfortable talking after. Last solution we have here is telemedicine software, which became greatly popular after the pandemic. It will allow for a conveniency. If you can have the ability to meet with a physician about a quick question while you're in the comfort of your own home or out and about, it will also allow the person to become a little bit more comfortable with that physician before they meet them face to face. Lastly, mental health, which is something that greatly affects everyone, but extremely affects people of different racial and ethnic backgrounds and that generational trauma can affect mental health, it's great to know that if you're having a mental health crisis, you can get on that phone and you can call anyone or meet on Zoom, meet on a computer, and you can meet with a psychologist or therapist and then get the help that you need. In conclusion here, we've confirmed that issues do exist. They exist and people are seeing that these issues are there. History is usually said by the oppressor's perspectives, meaning that history is usually told by the person in financial control and who's ruling over everything. So if we want to make any change, we got to go knock down the doors of the people who are in control. This thesis was not met with overwhelming survey results that support it as a whole, but this is a small stepping stone for broader research, and it is a catalyst for conversation. Thank you so much for watching my research presentation today. I'm Diamond Sampson. Have a good one.